All right, guys, what's going on? I'm just doing a really quick informal video on what do you do when the contractor does you wrong. I have a property that I manage where we have a vendor that is responsible for performing the annual testing for this building regarding the backflow devices. There's 3 backflow devices. They require annual testing and filing with the DEP. And during the course of a prior year, they messed up some paperwork. They didn't write something down on the paperwork, and one of them came back not approved. And the building was issued 3 violations for this non-filing of paperwork, basically, for whatever reason. Again, these are the companies that are hired and are responsible for maintaining those records, performing, that scope of work, getting the service that the client is paying for. So they've been servicing this building for 6-7 years, from the prior managing agent. And when we came on board, we didn't make any changes. This is what the building is familiar with. And we just said, look, if you guys want to go ahead and continue using this company, no problem. We're not going to get in the way of that. And they got in their own way. I mean, we immediately had to fire them. And I'll tell you why. The problem that formulated from this situation is accountability. You've got a company who says that they're not going to accept any responsibility in regards to the DEP violations that were issued, and literally getting the information and seeing how we can source this kind of documentation to put this timeline together was like pulling teeth. It was absolutely unacceptable. Especially when you're working with smaller clients, when you're working with mom and pop clients, and you're trying to help everybody formulate the idea of like, what is it that can be done? And here's a few things that, like I got the email this morning. Basically, they're saying, thank you for the update. We need to clarify and formally dispute the proposed deductions. The backflow inspections were completed and submitted as a courtesy. What? I mean, just you're starting off on the wrong foot here. But this is not the first time I'm communicating with them. This is maybe, one of 20 emails. This is one of 5 conversations that I had with them on the phone. They've been kept up to date regarding the hearing date, which was earlier this month. And as we got the results of the hearing, we got a $3,000 fine reduced down to $600. They're saying now that all backflow inspections were performed and completed and submitted as a courtesy. That's when I kind of look at the situation and I say, what is it that the company has to believe in order for them to say something like that? What does somebody have to say that when you're asking to get paid for a service and you're saying that you're doing that service as a courtesy? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm unclear on why this is why like what do you have to conjure in your brain? You have to conjure some type of spell. You have to conjure some type of manifestation or hallucination. You literally have to conjure some type of spell in your brain to believe that you're performing these services at a property, you're completing them, and you're submitting them as a courtesy to DEP on time. It's unacceptable. I cannot accept that level of communication or that level of we are right. This is a company that just believes that that they're the best, and they're clearly not. So I wrote an email over to the owners and I had said, look, for the costs that we're saving going forward for not having them file our paperwork, for this annual filing, as well as some other work that they're doing at the building. For the cost not having them at the property, you're going to save, almost $2,000 a year, just by removing this company. So we've already found you cost savings. The small fee of paying them back their, for this prior filing, and then $600 in DEP fines. I said it's a small bump in your budget this year, but getting them out of your way is your priority, because unless you want to deal with a company like this, and then I really have to question I really have to question you as a human being at that point. Is, at what point does that make sense to deal with a company that wants to get paid for services that they perform as a courtesy? It doesn't make sense. I just don't understand what level of, I don't know. I mean, I called the company this morning as soon as I got this email, and I was like, what is this email? I was like, I talked with the owner of the company or one of the partners or something like that. And it was like kind of like a sit down on the phone, over the phone, right? It's kind of like a sit down, what is wrong with you, over the phone, right? Or like just a mental check. And basically it's like who do you monitor the emails that your employees send? And this person was like, yes, of course, I authorized everything, and I authorized that email, and that told me everything that I needed to know. that told me everything that I needed to know. It was like, this guy is absolutely confident in the work that he does. They're absolutely confident in the fact that they treat their customers like this, and they're absolutely confident that anything that we expect them to go, anything that we service contract with them going forward we're gonna have to watch our backs. We're gonna have to have that feeling of, I have to watch my back. And like a DEP fine of $600 and a management fee of $150 to attend the hearing. Bounce all this information back and forth between the owners, between this specific plumbing company, between DEP. I had to contact DEP directly, and also scheduling out, the oath, which is the city's hearing division, for these kinds of violations for properties, for $150. I could only imagine if I was in the shoe of a plumbing company, and I'm looking at a management company saying, hey man, like, your outstanding balance of the invoice for this debacle, it's like, regardless of what happened, we're just going to charge back the $600 fine, the $150 out of the invoice, and you'll still get paid a couple $100. It's just, this is the level of expectation that we have when you're dealing with our properties, that, you're, for your failure to timely file these documentations, like we got the fine reduced, like thankfully we got the fine reduced. And it can't happen going forward, or else we're going to get the full $3,000. That's just the way, with your first time, one time, courtesy from the city. That's the level of expectation that my clients are going to have to deal with going forward. And me as a managing agent, it's like, now I have to insert X, Y, and Z protocol to ensure that they timely file the paperwork for the, in-person inspections that they do. No, I am not that kind of micromanager. I don't do that. It's like, you couldn't hire me. You couldn't make me enough money to micromanage other people's companies like that. And it's like, look, this is the expectation that these companies are setting out here today, guys. You have to be careful. You have to be careful on, what companies do you hire and what companies are you having service your properties, because they're going to turn around and they're going to do stuff like this. And we set the expectation over the course of between the time that we got the violation and the time that we attended the hearing, there was all this stuff that management was doing to keep everybody posted. It's like, look, we have a potential $3,000 fine. It's $1,000 per device. When did you guys file? Oh, we filed on this date. Okay, that date was after the actual date that we got the what's it called? The fine, the notice of the fine. We got that in March of 2025, for not filing the paperwork as of 12/31/2024. And again, we're not going to, sit here and dilly dally and, oh, well, why do you feel that way? And let's break this down and let's see what's right and let's see what's wrong. It's like, get the fuck out of the way, man. It's like there's plenty of companies who are doing a better job than you are, and saving my clients tons of money. I listened to what I needed to listen, and I'm going to take them off of another job. They service another property that I manage, and they're going to continue to service other properties that I'm going to run into, and I'm going to have some words. This company is absolutely blacklisted. There's no way that anybody in my circle, whether professional, friends, or colleagues, or whatever it is, there's nobody in my circle who's going to be running around with these guys. And if you are, I'm going to tell you straight up, like, yo, you got to watch your back. Like, there's no level of I'm being taken care of when you're dealing with a company that says you're paying us to do services as a courtesy. That's basically what this email says. All DEP backflow inspections were completed and submitted as a courtesy on time. No! That's why we got the violations! What are you talking about? And then I hop on the phone with the owner and he's like, yep, I approved that email. It's like, this is everything that I need to know about this company. It's just, it just doesn't make sense. That's actually kind of disappointing. And again, it's only going to cost my client an extra $600. We're going to waive the management fee for the amount of what in the world that they're going to have to look at. They're going to look at my email. And I basically said, like, it seems this company wants to absolve themselves of the liability for the DEP violations caused by their negligence regarding the 2024 filing. I would suggest paying the DEP violations when they come due, because the judge has to do the final mail. DEP recommended that we reduce the fines, that the judge reduced the fines, and the judge has to make the final order. Once that's all processed and somewhere for me to pay, I could go ahead and pay it, and then paying the company in full, and we'll waive the management fee of $150. All said and done, we're moving forward with cost savings for the property by moving away from this company. The additional DEP violation charge will be a small bump in the budget this year. Pay the $600, pay the outstanding balance in full, be gone with them. They're already not going to be at your property, and just be done with it. This is the level of, I just don't understand. This is actually, I wouldn't say it's the first time that I've had to deal with a level of nonsense regarding a vendor, because I've dealt with plenty of nonsense when it comes to vendors. But this is the first one where I actually gave a company several, a lot of opportunity to come correct and just take a almost $750 hit in 1 year off of a recurring bill, right? But they never gave us any food for thought on it. And then, when we finally put it in their face, this is the results. And as we have always said, we're not paying this bill until we back out the costs for this, and this is what the costs are. $750, you guys are going to complain about that? You guys are going to say no, that everything that we have done has only ever been a paid courtesy? Listen, man, good luck with business. I don't even understand that. I really don't. But this is what we're all dealing with. This is the level of communication that day in and day out owners have to deal with, vendors have to deal with, property managers have to deal with. It just help it make sense. Sometimes when you're just the guy that made the mistakes, it's okay to own it. It's okay to have that sense of, I fucked up and I'm going to make it better by doing this. Your next service is going to be free, or this, where we'll take the hit for the fines. We'll take the hit for the management fee. We just ask that, we continue being the property, the service provider for the property going forward. Those kinds of conversations go a mile, but when you're just standing firm and you're getting beaten by the waves of, the information that I'm gathering is not pointing in your favor, and then you just want to stand tall and get withered away by, the decisions that you make, thinking that that you think that you're right. I mean, this is the most, first of all, you sent your employee to send an email back to me, and I had to call you. That says a lot. It's like, I want to speak with you. What do you think about this email? Oh, I authorized that email. Well, now we know that there probably isn't going to be any negotiation here. Not that I want to negotiate with a company like yours. I drew my line in the sand and I said this is it. So I also recommended to the other building, just as a courtesy. I said, look, like, I think it's time for you to move away from this company. We'll introduce some cost savings to that property as well. And that's in an effort to just move away from this nonsense. Again, this company's blacklisted. There's absolutely no way I'm going to be dealing with a company like this in any shape, form, or fashion. I'm just not. I just don't see. I don't see the value that they bring to the table. They're just another service company that's just way overpaid, and just doesn't do right by their clients. It's just what a bad combination. Anyways, guys, that's the information that I have for you today. I hope you all are doing very, very beautifully, and gonna go take care of some more work. Peace.